Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for Broadway World. Oscar and Tony Award-winning legend Glenda Jackson has returned to Broadway in director Sam Gold's stellar production of Shakespeare's King Lear, and we caught up with the company just minutes after the opening night curtain rang down.
It is just an inordinate privilege to be allowed to play this play. I mean, it's just such a fantastic play. And we have a very good company and they're all marvellous, so it's terrific.
You know, I was talking to a lot of actors who have taken on the role of Lear over the years, and many found it daunting, running away from it. You find it rejuvenating, don't you? I
do. I mean, but I don't think... What I'm trying to say is that there is an inordinate energy within the play itself. And if you manage, you being the whole company, not exclusively the individual, you manage to tap into that energy. The play just carries you along, and it is an extraordinary piece to be in.
What was it originally that you told yourself, I want to tackle Lear, I want to do this?
I wasn't told that, actually. A friend of mine, a brilliant Spanish actress, Nuria Esper, did it in Spain, and I went over to Barcelona to see it, and she said to me, why don't you do it? And I said, don't be ridiculous, they'd never let me do this in England. So, I mean, then the old Vic asked me to do something, and that's what we came up with, and it's all down to Nuria.
Watching all these incredible actors bringing such unique things to the table and all coming with their own perspective and version of things, and that's what I think makes the show so extraordinary, really. It's that every scene is alive and real and fresh because the actors are coming with something else entirely different. So I think I've never been in a show when it's been like that, when the ensemble has been so strong that every scene is brought alive in a fresh way, and it's interesting to watch because of that.
It's an extraordinary thing to be able to do Shakespeare on Broadway. It's not that it doesn't ever happen, but I don't think it happens often enough. And it feels very, very special to be doing this particular play with this particular leading actor.
It was like every rehearsal room I've ever walked into, because they were all passionate about the play and passionate about making it work, and I was part of the team, so I was embraced when I went in, but I was intimidated. I didn't choose to sit beside Glenda on the first day.
Did you move closer to her during rehearsals?
Slowly, I'm moving closer to her all the time. I'm edging closer.
The entire company is remarkable. I mean, there is not just not a weak link, but there is not a stellar actor. I mean, every single role. It's incredible. And then you have Philip Glass doing the music, hanging out in the rehearsal room. I would ride the subway with him downtown every day after work. Me and Philip Glass riding the subway, and then Anne Roth is sitting there designing our clothes. You know, it was just a ridiculous amount of riches.
How long did it take you to write the score?
I wrote a lot of it. Some of it I wrote in the rehearsals. So by the end of the rehearsal period, I then would go home and look at my notes, and I could take the day's work and summarize it and write it down. Some of it was written right down while I was doing it. I have a paper with me, and basically by the time we got it into the previews, I had finished the score.
What unlocked this for you?
I was thinking a lot about power and corruption. It's a play about a king with a lot of power, and who when he gives that power away and things start going badly and other people trying to take that power, it has a lot to do with the corrupting aspects of power. So I looked a lot at actually the person and the reference that was the sort of inspiration for me for the production was Roy Cohn, who is a figure, and I looked at a lot of photos of him in the 80s, you know, when the sort of corruption in Wall Street was sort of at its height or at its genesis. And that there's something about the early 1980s in New York and the sort of seeing Roy Cohn's face and his sort of evil eyes staring at me, that was kind of the major inspiration.
You're sitting around the table for the first part. Some people find that chapter kind of frustrating. It's my favorite part because you're kind of like at a dinner table and the play is the food and you're, you know, cutting it up and eating it and sharing it and discussing it, and then you get on your feet and there's something so innocent and and challenging about the experience that there is nothing like it. I started in the theater. I never made it to Broadway until now, but it was like, you know, getting on a bike as far as being in an ensemble and exchanging ideas and trying things. There really isn't anything like it, to be honest with you.
I think one of the great things about this production is there are so many good actors in it. So many, you know what I mean? So it allows the play to really bubble up from the surface. Everything is interesting. Everything is new. Everything is being rediscovered. Someone asked me, like, what do you think is going to be, what would you tell an audience, which is interesting about this production? I said, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. You're literally watching history as it's being made.
Being in the room with Sam Gold, what was that like creating this together?
He's such a brilliant mind, and he's a very heady mind. And at first, it took me a while to try to latch on to what he was trying to say. But once you got it, you're like, oh, okay, now I see this world. But he's such a brilliant mind. I think that Sam has pushed me so much as an actor in this process. I'm very grateful for Sam.
Sharing the stage with Glenda Jackson.
Yes, is amazing. She's legendary. I mean, mind-blowing, really. I've always enjoyed watching her in rehearsal, in the rehearsal room. She knows her shit. She really does. And I will take any bit of direction from her. I just bow down every time she said something.
It's such a diverse company of actors. You have deaf actors, you have Americans, Irish actors, Brits, people who are very studied in classical theater, people who are used to doing slam poetry. I mean, it was a real meeting of a diverse group of minds, and I just felt lucky to be a part of it, and to also learn and translate this show into American Sign Language was really a challenge, as well as like an extreme honor to get to do that with Alexandria Wales, who helped do Spring Awakening. So it's wonderful. I get to hear this language every day spoken by Glenda Jackson. Are you kidding me?
So that first day in the rehearsal room, you were there with Sam Gold, your director, Glenda Jackson, and everybody else. What was going through your mind that first day?
Just sheer terror. because I'm like, oh my God, am I going to be good enough? I'm going to lose my job? I don't know. And like, but everyone is on the same, they're on the same boat. So like everyone feels the exact same way. It's just, but it is sheer terror.
Sharing the stage with Glenda Jackson, what is that like?
I mean, it was scary at first. I was frightened, but what I love about her is actually how present she is, and how she's like scary, particularly in this part. I mean, she's channeling one of the scary people, but you really feel like she can take as well as she gives. So if you push back and you're present with her, she will be present with you. And if you're not, then she'll just eat you alive.
The energy is extremely high. The game is really high. Rehearsals especially, because you're seeing people make crazy choices that, you just really felt you got to dive in there and go for it. So it's really cool, really exciting.
You took your bow tonight. Do you remember what you were thinking?
Yeah, I was like, be brave. There's people all the way up at the top on that balcony. Make sure you greet like everybody, take it in. I have some good friends who said you only get one experience like that, so just take an extra beat, take a moment, take it in, So it's like,